and provide better protection against newer variants. Boosters are an important part of protecting yourself from getting seriously ill from COVID 19. To learn more and schedule your appointment, visit ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine. ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine.
Hi, Matt McNeil here. On December 8th, I was driving home in my Toyota Sienna from Rudy Luther Toyota. At a traffic light, a car slammed into me. Without a doubt in my mind, if I hadn't been driving a Sienna, I wouldn't be here right now. The car is designed to take a wallop and keep the people inside safe, as it did for me. It's one thing to hear someone talk about safety standards. It's another to become an example of the safety standards. The Toyota saved my life, and I will always own one. If you want real safety, visit Rudy Luther Toyota. Rudy Luther Toyota, the corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 20, then a chance of snow on Tuesday with a high of 35. Hazel's Northeast offers the most creative comfort food you'll find for any meal of the day. Hazel's is located at 29th and Johnson in Minneapolis, minutes from 35W. More at hazelsne2go.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade.
Bonjour, relatives. This is Zoe Allen filling in for Robert Pilot tonight. We have a very exciting show lined up for you, but before I get into it, I just want to remind all of our listeners that this portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice. Tonight, we will have special coverage from Robert Pilot on the Warrior Woman event he attended this past weekend, which led up to today, February 27th, 2023, which marks the 50th anniversary of the occupation or liberation of Wounded Knee. Later in the show, we will have sacred animal advocate Wendy Pilot on, but first I'm going to share some Native news, followed by some important updates from our very own Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. Our first story today is more of an update regarding student loan relief under the Biden administration. On February 28th, the U.S. Supreme Court will hear two legal challenges that were successful in temporarily blocking the Biden-Harris student debt cancellation program. They anticipate a final decision in June. If the program is permanently blocked by the court, student loan payments will resume 60 days after June 30th. Approximately 26 million borrowers applied for debt cancellation in the first month of the program, and 16 million borrowers have been approved. In local news, over the weekend, there have been important updates regarding the roof depot demolition in East Phillips, Minneapolis. According to the Defend the Depot Instagram, a court has issued a temporary restraining order against the demolition, which was scheduled to begin today, February 27th. The conditions of this order are that the East Phillips Neighborhood Institute, or EPNI, will try to get the appeal heard as soon as possible. Secondly, that the EPNI only has to pay $10,000 in bond and that they have 2 weeks to raise that bond. And lastly, if the costs to the city get out of hand, the city can ask for a reconsideration of that bond. The bottom line of this is that the demolition has been halted for 2 more weeks, which is a huge victory for all of our relatives who have been showing up and protesting in order to protect the East Phillips community. If you're able to, please donate to this cause. You can follow the Defend the Depot Instagram account. Their handle is at Defend the Depot. If you go onto their page, they also have other ways you can support their mutual aid efforts. I think they have a account set up for getting coffee for elders in the area. And of course, they're also gathering donations to pay that $10,000 bond. But basically, this is a huge, huge victory for our community, as the demolition was scheduled to start today. And any time we can get to push it off further will help our cause. So really appreciate if you can check out the Defend the Depot Instagram page. And now we will be listening to some updates from Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan.
Bonjour, this is Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and I'm joining Native Roots Radio with an update from the Walz-Flanagan administration. What a week of Minnesota weather. I hope that all of you are able to stay safe and warm through this winter storm. This is a timely reminder of the importance of safe and stable housing. For those of us who have safe homes, this winter weather can be an inconvenience, but for our relatives experiencing homelessness, it is dangerous and even deadly. Governor Walz and I proposed a bold housing stability package with a total investment of over $1 billion to support our neighbors experiencing homelessness, renters, and first-time homebuyers alike to meet their housing needs. And one of my most favorite parts of this proposal also includes a $44 million allocation that would go directly to tribal nations to support their work to address homelessness in their own communities. Despite the weather, our partners in the legislature have continued to send great legislation to the governor's desk, some of which has been in the making for decades. This week, the Senate passed 2 critical pieces of legislation: Restore the Vote and driver's licenses for all. We are now only one step away from restoring the right to vote to over 55,000 Minnesotans, as this bill, having passed the House and Senate, makes its way to the governor's desk to sign. Voting is one of the most basic building blocks of our democracy. And in the state of Minnesota, we don't just believe in democracy, we aspire towards an inclusive democracy where we support voter participation and work against voter suppression. According to the numbers from the 2018 election, 6% of Black Minnesotans and 9% of Native American Minnesotans were ineligible to vote because of felonies, compared to 1% of white Minnesotans. After folks have served their time, continuing to put up barriers to their involvement in our democracy does not make us stronger. In fact, the right to vote for people who represent us is one of the most important ways to ensure people get and stay connected to their communities after incarceration. I'm thankful for Senator Bobby Joe Champion and Representative Cedric Frazier for leading on this important bill, and we are completely indebted to the advocates who have kept the faith and kept up the fight for years. Another important piece of legislation that passed the Senate this week is driver's licenses for all. Restoring access to driver's licenses for everyone in Minnesota is long overdue. It has been years in the making. This is about safety and security for families and for all Minnesotans. Parents should be able to safely drive their kids to school. Workers should be able to drive safely to their jobs. And everyone driving on our roads should have access to the necessary training and licensure needed to drive safely. This means that anyone can access the training and licensure regardless of their immigration status. With more people having the ability to safely transport themselves and their families, and with fewer unlicensed and untrained drivers on the road, we are all made that much safer. Everyone deserves to fully participate in their communities without barriers and without fear. Both of these bills are about restoring the rights of our neighbors and our friends, our relatives, community members, and they're also about keeping our communities safer and more connected. Even through a snowstorm, our legislature continues to show an incredibly productive session. I'll keep updating the Native Roots Radio audience as we continue to make investments in improving the lives of all Minnesotans. It's good work. Chimigwich, Pinagigi, and back to you.
Chimigwich to Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan for giving us those really important updates. You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Zoe Allen. I'm filling in for Robert Pilot today. Coming up next, we'll be hearing from Robert, actually. He's not in the studio today, but he's on the road all the way in Porcupine, South Dakota, about a 9-hour drive from Minneapolis. He's heading back. Sounds like he's had a really great time hearing from former Aimsters, Wounded Knee people, and of course, many of our matriarchs, including Madonna Thunderhawk. So we're really excited to hear from Robert in the next segment. And this is Native Roots Radio. Stay tuned.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
We are your relatives,
We are your relations,
brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters,
and some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
Homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. And we'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
Shambot Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblotfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Bonjour, relatives. You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Zoe Allen, filling in for Robert Pilot today. So we're actually going to hear from Robert any minute here. He should be calling in from the road. He was just attending the Warrior Woman event this weekend in Porcupine, South Dakota, which was commemorating the 50th anniversary of the occupation or liberation of Wounded Knee. And before we get into that, I just wanted to remind you all that this portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition. So hopefully we can get Robert on soon. I know service has been a little bit of spotty for him, just because it's South Dakota, and as flat as it is, you can't always get the best cell service. But I was looking on the Facebook of the event. It seems like there's been great attendance. Lots of people went. I know that they were doing some oral histories for folks that attended, and they were actually able to record people right there at the event, to make sure that they were gathering people's stories, because, you know, our stories are really important, and not having them documented is really difficult for our community. So it's really wonderful that the Warrior Woman Collaborative has been able to bring those resources into the community. And oh, awesome. It seems like Robert is ready to come on. So I don't know if we can hear him. Alrighty, any minute now. But yeah, so Warrior Woman, the collaborative, really important project. They made a movie commemorating the women of AIM, because, you know, their stories aren't heard as much.
I'm here, Zoe.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay, great. I was just like, I can't hear you. Okay, great. Lovely.
You know,
All
what is
right.
my coffee cup says you're on mute, and that's what was happening. I was talking to the Badlands here. I'm pulled over here in South Dakota. I'm looking over the Badlands and listening to a great job that you do and are doing. And the future of Native Roots Radio looks great with you and Ogama doing such great work. So thank you for stepping in a good way, and I'm really excited to talk about American Indian Movement and Wounded Knee's 50th anniversary of the occupation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, you saw some pictures that I had, Zoe, and one of the things that I just want to maybe run through what I've done, and then maybe talk about our third segment where I have some warriors that were young people that heard the call of Wounded Knee and showed up from all over the country, and it was really interesting. So let me get going with that right now. We got in. It's roughly a 9-10 hour drive to where we had to go to celebrate Healy's radio station's 40th anniversary. And Zoe, I don't know if you know this because you're a young one, but that was the first Native-owned run station in the nation. And
wow.
You know, the American Indian movement made that happen, and it's been 40 years, and a lot of good things. You know, I think about Wounded Knee. A lot of good things happened at a relatively quick time after the occupation in 1973, and one of them was, you know, of course, we could the Religious Freedom Act in 1978. We could do our own religion our own way, and I always talk about the irony of that, Zoe, is that
Yep.
you know, this country was supposed to be based on freedom of religion.
Yeah, right. Funny story, right?
Good one. Yeah, right. Hey, so I went to that, and Bill Means, whose brother was Russell Means, and who is one of the founders of American Indian Movement, and he was young during the occupation, but he was there, and he runs. He's a I don't want to say he runs, but he's like the chairman of the board. So AIM still has you know, relationship with this great radio station, and it was fun. Wherever we were going this weekend, people had the station on. You could hear the radios, and I think soon Native Roots Radio will be on either the best of or daily shows soon. on Keeley Radio here in South Dakota. But
Cool.
it's just right. I'm looking over the Badlands and thinking about the weekend. And I know you were mentioning when I was having problems with my phone here about the Warrior Women Project on Saturday. And what was amazing is the people that showed up for the 50th anniversary. Now, there were some that couldn't come because of the weather, but there were people, Zoe, their lawyers came that helped them afterwards. And it was amazing to see, excuse me, but these older people show up there, but they were law students and just getting out of law school in 1973. And these guys they helped the American Indian movement so much. And they really, it was life-changing. A lot of these people, it was life-changing, kind of like Standing Rock was for me.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, but Wounded Knee changed a lot of people's life. And we know there's, through the Warrior Women Project, because as you know, and we try to amplify this all the time on Native Roots Radio, is that the women led the way. It might have been, the press might have fell in love with Russell and Dennis, but the women were the backbone and running things in the background, and they weren't getting the press. And I think that's why the Warrior Women Project specifically is so good to remind people during that era and during right now and for forever that our women have run and led us, and we as men are supposed to back up our women and support them in everything. So just to let everybody know, especially our white allies out there, Zoe, that that's the way things are meant to be in Indian country.
Yeah, completely. Matriarchs are incredibly important, and huge part of colonialism was making sure that our whole system, our government system, our societies were just flipped completely upside down and backwards so that we couldn't remember or couldn't access those important teachings that, our women come first, our women and our children come first, and our men follow. So that's really incredible. So were you able to hear from like Madonna Thunderhawk? Like who was there? Who were some of the speakers? What was kind of the setup of the event?
Well, that's a great question, and I'll probably get into it more in the coming days. But just let me give you a quick synopsis. So they showed a clip of a 14-minute clip of the Warrior Women, and again the lawyers showed up, which I think 8 out of the 9 were women. Madonna Thunderhawk, I got to tell you this quick story. So I stayed with Warrior Women when we got in there, but they were at a bunkhouse. And you know what that means, Zoe? That they're bunk beds. And so I was on the top bunk bed. And, being old and have to go potty and, getting cramps and things like that, it wasn't conducive for me to be up there. So we went to the casino hotel after that, but I got to hang out with Madonna, and it's always good medicine to be with her daughter, her sister, and Beth, and all those people working in the Warrior Woman Project. There was a lot of good medicine. I saw Ruth Buffalo this weekend. I saw Red Dawn Foster. We got a selfie in there, and just good medicine to see all these people supporting supporting what AIM did and does. And especially, I always tell this story, Zoe, that, my uncle talks about this, is that everyone was ashamed to be Indian until the American Indian movement came about, especially as our urban Indians. And they really helped us speak up and do things. And you could see that what I got from this weekend, Zoe, was kind of what they talk about, the greatest generation. I saw people that were normal people that did extraordinary things,
right,
and still are doing to this day. And what's not the fanfare of the news, as you probably will hear in that Roland will do the next segment, there's people that are still doing things for their community, which they should be, but it all started at Wounded Knee. and
Right.
and they brought it back to their communities, because not everyone was from South Dakota. They were from all over the world, and I ran into people that were from California that heard the call and came here because things were getting hairy. And some people were there the whole 73 days, other people 39 days, 70 days. But it was great to see ordinary people that did extraordinary things.
Yeah, really. And highlighting those stories, right? Like, I think that's such a beautiful thing in the Warrior Woman film. If you haven't had the chance to watch that, I'd really support that idea to all of our listeners out there. Check it out. Also, it's free today. I believe this is the last day it's free on their website. You can just check out warriorwoman.com and it should come up. But I think we're going to have to take a little break, Robert, and we'll just come right back to this after a couple messages from our supporters. But stay with us. This is Native Roots Radio. This is Zoe Allen and Robert Pilot. We'll be right back after the break. Jimmy Glitch.
Boost your immunity and help protect your community. COVID-19 is still here, but it's not too late to get your booster. Staying up to date with vaccines can help build protection that has decreased since your last shot and provide better protection against newer variants. Boosters are an important part of protecting yourself from getting seriously ill from COVID-19. To learn more and schedule your appointment, visit ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine. ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine.
Hello, this is Ellie Krug with Ellie 2.0 Radio. Now my show will be on Saturdays from 10 to 11 and replayed on Sundays from 1 to 2. You will get to the best of Ellie 2.0 with talking about idealism with guests who come in and who are idealistic, who are trying to change the world. And you will get me, super idealist. Tune in. We can't wait to hear from you. And you'll hear from me Saturdays from 10 to 11.
This is David from The David Pakman Show, where we expose the Hatriots, liars, and Trumpists. Weekdays at 2 p.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hey, it's Patrick. February is the month for love, but when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it really deserves? If your carpet hasn't been professionally cleaned, you are breathing unhealthy levels of nasty dirt, dander, bacteria, and germs that keep recirculating again and again. And what's worse, you're going to be stuck inside breathing that nasty stuff for months. Lucky for you, Zero Res is going to spread the love for you and your home with their Love Your Rug special. Get 3 rooms Zero Resified from the Twin Cities' #1 carpet cleaner starting at just $119. Plus, this month only, they are throwing in a free hallway to sweeten the deal. But hurry, this deal won't last long. And because love has no limits, Zero Res is going to take $75 off your air duct cleaning. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online at ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Zero Res.
SeniorCommunities.guide is your free online website to find housing, care, and resources for seniors in Minnesota. Use the powerful, award-winning search tool to quickly improve your search. You will have all the information you need to contact providers directly without any hassle. Start your search now at SeniorCommunities.guide and follow us on Facebook for interesting articles, helpful advice, and how older adults are changing the world.
SeniorCommunities.guide. Hey, it's Tom. Many local utility companies and cities have recently renewed incentives for installing solar panels in 2023. This is great news for people looking to go solar, but the electrical grid can only handle so many systems being added to their current infrastructure. The electrical grid has limited space for connecting solar energy systems, so it's important to secure your place on the grid and go solar before someone else takes your spot. All Energy Solar is hosting a winter webinar where you can learn more about local solar incentives and electrical grid congestion. These webinars are free and open to the public, no matter if your property is residential, commercial, agriculture, or even something else. And during your webinar, an expert from All Energy Solar will be available to answer all of your questions. If you're someone who has thought about going solar but are unsure if it's right for you, these webinars are a perfect way to learn more. Interested in attending? Visit allenergysolar.com/webinar to register for an event and see what incentives are available to you.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 20, then a chance of snow on Tuesday with a high of 35. Hazel's Northeast offers the most creative comfort food you'll find for any meal of the day. Hazel's is located at 29th and Johnson in Minneapolis, minutes from 35W. More at hazelsne2go.com.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Bonjour, relatives. This is Zoe Allen filling in for Robert Pilot today as he is on the road, coming back from Porcupine, South Dakota, from an event marking the 50th anniversary of the occupation or liberation of Wounded Knee. And so we got Robert on the line here. But right before we jump into our conversation, I just want to say that this portion of the show is brought to you by the Native American Community Development Institute. All right, Robert, are you here?
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. I'm still looking at this beautiful Badlands, all these hills and mountains and sediment. It just makes you feel in a really good way, this beauty out here. I just want to jump in real quick and amplify what you said about the Warrior Women Project and the women that led it. It was a beautiful day on Saturday doing that. And then today we ended with the march in 4 directions. People walked 7 miles to the gravesite of Wounded Knee, and with song and dance and prayers. And it was a beautiful thing to witness. I went up there and put tobacco out on a few graves up there, and had my own ceremony before people came. But it's a beautiful place to be, and our ancestors are there, and they are there, and they'll always be there. And then I got to tell you too, Zoe, I went and saw this other movie called. I was a little skeptical about it. It was done by a reporter that was in Wounded Knee. He basically did a great job. He told his story. He was bunking with Anna Mae. He knew Anna Mae really well. He knew all these people, and he was really accepted by the people of Wounded Knee. So he did a documentary and had brought in a bunch of people in and interviewed him, and he told his story. And I got to tell you this real quick before we go into this clip, is that he was running somebody, they marked it off where they wouldn't let food come into Wounded Knee, and they were trying to starve them out. And some people airdropped this food into Wounded Knee's compound. And as soon as they went to get the food, these helicopters were zooming in there and starting to shoot at the people that were trying to get the food, and this reporter, young reporter who did the documentary, said there was somebody running behind him, and he asked him what size shoes he wore, because he thought he was going to get killed and end up with the shoes. So it was one of the funny points of this documentary. And it was really done well. From Wounded Knee to Standing Rock is what it's called. Okay. And what I want to do, Zoe, here is I have 3 gentlemen that did a Q&A, and they just kind of told what their calling was and why they showed up to Standing Rock. And so maybe we can end my segment here, and I'll take off with this roll-in of these 3 people, and they'll introduce themselves. And I thought it was very interesting. And then let's play that. And then I will see you Monday in Penegee for all the great work you're doing. And thank you. And let's listen to the clip.
All right, Miigwech, Robert. Yep. And yeah, now we'll listen to the clip here of the interview. That's queued up.
Got in and how you got there, but could you guys tell you what was like the driving motivation for you? Just what made you see like this is the moment I'm going out there? Because
Go ahead, Richard.
can you guys state your name again, dude?
Richard Gray Whitman. Well, for me, it was I'd gone to Indian school in New Mexico with some students, and they were from Pine Ridge, and they were from the Minneapolis area, and we were, we only seen Alcatraz and something on the news, And then I went to school with students also who talked about the fishing rights in Washington. So we wanted something, It was still an Indian boarding school in a way, but it was the Institute of American Arts. Here was a new school to use your culture to create from, and but still it was limited. So, I had a lot of anger, I had a lot of pain. I wanted to push back some way, and so when they came back, the fellow students go home for Christmas or Thanksgiving in Minneapolis. Oh yeah, it's a new organization. 68. Talking about AIM. So they brought some, some testimonies from there, and I'd encourage us. And so when that happened, when Wounded Knee happened, I was ready. I'm ready. Something, anything. And as soon as I arrived at Wounded Knee, then I ran into my old school buddies, Danny Longslow, Pine Ridge, and Eddie Tucrow. I went with him to Wounded Knee, and so I figured I knew I was on their res, their culture, their language. They knew the politics, so I hung with them and changed my life. Gave me direction, give me, as Tiger says, we look back at Oklahoma, at our own home turf. Maybe we can do something, And I think that was, I had a question a while back about what advice would I give the young people? You can do something, individually or organize or share with each other, support each other. And so, that was 50 years ago, and that was my time of, the Lakota people took us in and shared, and all those people there, like I see that Gladys Bissonette, Lou B, and Moose Camp, Ellen Moose Camp, and old man Tom, just all those people, they took care of us. Gladys Bissonette, became our mother down at the White Church. She always saved food for some of the bunker guys, and coffee and oatmeal. Well, I don't know if I answered your question.
Oh, that's about you guys. What was it that actually just got in your heart to get you up, to get you out there?
Well, I'm Willard Carlson, by the way, and it's for the record. There was a lot of things happening against Native people that I was aware of, maybe not everywhere, but even in our part of the country, the police was very heavy-handed, murders, taking a Native up to the third floor to jail in Humboldt County, stop the elevators and put the boots to them, and people get murdered. So it was happening in the country, and I think after I didn't make it to Alcatraz, but my mother did, and a few others people, and so that really stirred my interest. So it was kind of like a lot of things were like brewing, like building up, and I think too that like Kevin was saying, AIM was a thunderbolt that started awareness to what are the things in Indian country. And what I found out was when I came to this land here was it wasn't just about the one tribe. It was a bunch of us. We didn't ask for tribal IDs and different things, identification. Hey, you're a brother, we were brothers. And we were partners. And then, so I had to be part of it. I wasn't, I mean, like quite a few, it took me a long time to really think about it. Some people were the peacekeepers, holy people. Some worked in wherever their position is, dance leaders, ceremony leaders. Well, some were warriors, and some were different types of warriors. Like when we went and left Porcupine and finally got a guide to go in, there was 2 holy men that were Iroquois, and they didn't go ahead and handle weapons and things like that. But there was 4 of us, or 8 altogether, but 4 went to Rosebud, took the vehicles, and 4 of us went in with Iroquois. And a young man, his last name from Porcupine, his name was Horse. He was like 17 years old. So his family really welcomed us and thanked us for, Californians we're not on surfboards in LA. We were warriors, we had to fight too, we just had smaller drives, but the Californians were damn near annihilated the whole state. So it was like Richard says, wanted to get something back, and you had this. It wasn't really what I would call, I was meaning to go kill somebody. I was just ready to defend the rights of people and their beliefs and what they were fighting for. That was me. And I was always for the underdog, or a person that got bullied, protect him. I see in this high school I went to, and finally I transferred over to Hoopa High, which is the neighboring reservation where there was more Indian people. And I felt that easier. I didn't like the other schools. And it was pretty bad. It was very bad. The teachers, wore hoops, trying to make you wear, you think, well, I'm going to wear a long sleeve shirt, because they were, wanting me to do some square dance, and I refused because they were trying to do the war hoop, make me square dance same time. I just felt it was wrong. And I got reprimanded, so heck, I had to find my own way, and that was the way for me. I'm here.
Oh.
Hey, Richard, I saw your daughter in the lobby, and I always.
Alrighty, I think we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we'll hear from Wendy Pilot, Sacred Animal Advocate. This is Native Roots Radio, and this is Zoe Allen filling in for Robert Pilot today.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Boost your immunity and help protect your community. COVID-19 is still here, but it's not too late to get your booster. Staying up to date with vaccines can help build protection that has decreased since your last shot and provide better protection against newer variants. Boosters are an important part of protecting yourself from getting seriously ill from COVID-19. To learn more and schedule your appointment, visit ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine. ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Hey, it's sacred animal time, and I want to invite and introduce my beautiful wife, Wendy Pilot. Wendy's been an animal advocate for many years, and we discussed for the last 6 years about our sacred animals, and I've learned so much over the years, Wendy. So again, thanks for everything, and welcome back.
Yes, thanks everybody. My name is Hanaji Hihani. That means cares for them. I was given that name by my Dega Curtis. Curtis goes by Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds. I'm a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and I work on animal issues at the local and state level. It's always a pleasure to do that. And today we are going to have a fun fact day.
Just like the old Fun Fact Fridays.
But yeah, if I can't make it on a Friday, we have to make up for it, right?
Right on. Thanks.
Yeah, I just feel like sometimes there's so much doom and gloom in the animal world, and we do talk about a lot of serious subjects on the show about animals, and sometimes it's just a fun day to like kick back and just talk about fun things and just laugh a little bit. So I have this site, and it has it's the fact site. That's what it's called, and I have over 300 facts about animals.
Don't tell people that.
They'll
start their own radio show.
But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start from number 300 and go up, because I never get that far, right? If I start from number 1, we never get to 300. So we're going to start from 300 first. But so we're just going to go through these and like laugh a little and talk about these. The lifespan of a bush baby is 14 years.
What's a bush baby?
Okay, a bush baby is that kind of like a little monkey looking animal with the really, really, really big eyes and little and ears. So Robert, that's a bush baby.
Oh wow.
You could look it up. They're very, very cute.
Some big eyes.
They
It's
do.
Some alien.
This is a fact that I really, really love.
Where are they from?
The Galapagos Islands and other places.
Okay.
Yeah. Millions of trees are accidentally planted by squirrels that they bury their nuts and they forget where they hid them. So go squirrels. They're planting trees. We need them for our oxygen, right?
Johnny Apple squirrel.
I see them too. And you know what? They're really, well, I have to say, they're not so smart.
Stuff.
They're burying the nuts in the snow too.
Yeah.
Well,
that might work, once it
might.
thaws.
I know.
Or they'll find it and have a tasty snack and never.
Mm-hmm.
What's the percentage that they find?
I think it's like 50%.
Yeah, it was something like that. It's crazy.
I know. The slowest fish is the seahorse, which moves at about 0.01 miles per hour.
They're both female and male, aren't they? Seahorses? Didn't you have a fun fact one time about that? I can't remember.
The fun fact about seahorses is that the male is the one who gets pregnant and gives birth.
Well, that wouldn't go well in our society.
Yeah.
Because I'm a delicate flower.
Exactly, you
Jeez.
are. The Big Five is a group of animals of Africa: the Cape buffalo, elephant, leopard, lion, and rhino. So sometimes you'll hear about the Big Five. So that's what that is. Some lions mate over 50 times a day. That's disgusting. Lions, yes.
Wow.
A rooster is simply a male chicken.
Yeah.
Some of these I'm gonna
That's a good one.
some of these I'm gonna have to skip over because they're not appropriate. Jellyfish jellyfish
think
evaporate
it's too
in the
late for
sun
that.
because they're 98% water.
It's too late for that, Wendy. The lion's a sex addict.
I know, it's terrible.
Okay.
Before they're even born, sand tiger sharks eat their twin brothers and sisters. But I wonder who gets who.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess they do. Did you know that there are no ants in Iceland, Greenland, and Antarctica? No ants.
Even in Antarctica, because it sounds like Antarctica. No, is that why you said that? Okay.
This one I'm going to skip. You can't hear this one.
Oh.
Dolphins can eat up to 30 pounds of fish a day.
Wow.
Yeah. So we need to stop fishing all these fish in the ocean so that the whales and the dolphins can have it. Yeah, there's whales like in the Pacific Northwest who are like hungry because there's not enough food for them.
Right. Thanks, China.
Exactly. Hummingbirds are the only birds who could fly backwards. I remember saying that once.
Yeah, you must have got down to 300 at one time.
Well, I think I've just found that on a different site and have, this is our cat Lucy. She's here for the sacred animal section, as always. There is no record of a human being attacked by a healthy wolf. So it would be only a wolf who's like really in distress or very sick who would, maybe feel threatened, who would do that. African elephants have bigger ears than Indian elephants.
So they should. The better to hear you.
Exactly. The swan has over 25,000 feathers on its body.
Wow.
Yeah. A moose have very poor vision. Some have even tried to mate with cars.
Okay, that was one of those inappropriate ones you shouldn't
No,
have
the
brought
other
up.
one was very inappropriate. A giraffe has the same number of bones in its neck as a man. That's a lot of bones. I think the average, I think a human being has like 206 bones. Or
Not in our neck.
Not in our neck, in our whole body.
Right.
Yeah.
But we have the same amount in each neck.
What a giraffe has the same number of bones in its neck as a man. Look up how many bones a human man has. Frogs cannot swallow without blinking.
Wow.
This is gross, but hyenas regularly eat the feces of other animals. That's kind of gross, but I guess it keeps the area cleaned up, right?
Yes.
A full-grown bear can run as fast as a horse. That's why you just never, I don't know if you encounter a bear. That's like one of my fears if I go into the wild. Like, not that I go into the wild, but that's what I would fear. Remember, we were going to rent that little cabin in the woods?
Danielle's?
Yeah. And then she told us like to bring bells and whistles with us, like to make noise when you're walking.
Is that why we didn't camp out there? I was wondering about that.
I was afraid of the bears.
They had eagles there too.
There is no visual difference between male and female herons. Isn't that like a bird, a heron? It's kind of like a crane, right? It looks like a crane. Yeah. Tiger Day is the last Sunday in September.
Good to know.
Scientists had to go 45 million years back in history to find the elephant's oldest ancestor.
Say that again?
Scientists had to go 45 million years back into history to find the elephant's oldest ancestor. It's probably like one of those dinosaurs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're prehistoric is what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like alligators or lizards or
Yeah.
turtles or something like that look prehistoric.
Yeah. Right. All dolphins have different whistles.
We don't whistle in the dark.
Mhm.
You
I
know that,
know.
right? Yeah. Okay. Give me another one.
Okay. Here you go. Listen to this one. You are more likely to be killed by a champagne cork than by a poisonous spider. So you really shouldn't be afraid of poisonous spiders because that seems really rare.
Wow.
Yeah. Heron's eggs, we were just talking about the heron,
Yes.
eggs have a greenish blue pale color. When a giraffe ages, their fur darkens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Exactly.
Because mine lightens. I got a white beard now.
Yeah, your top of your hair isn't turned light, but it's thinning. But anyway.
Wow.
Female harp
TMI.
seals get in groups to have their babies once mating season is over.
Wow. Okay. Give us one good one.
One more. A group of whales is called a pod.
Hey, thanks for listening to Native Roots Radio. Free Leonard Peltier now. We'll be back.